Welcome back. We have with us Navin Killa, the head of APAC, Telecommunications, Media and Internet, joining us from the UBS Conference 2025. Navin, thank you very much for joining in. Let's begin with the broad call that you have on the India telecom business. I was seeing some of your notes. You're bearish on Bharti Airtel, which is quite the anti-consensus call. Most people are bullish on Bharti Airtel. Stock is done very well. So if you could take us through that, and plus this entire, the AGR relief, which is likely to come through for Vodafone Idea. So where do you stand on the India telecom sector and what you can share on individual stocks?
Thank you very much. So look, we don't comment on individual stocks, but I'm going to take you through the framework that we have on the Indian telecom sector. Obviously, in the last 5 years, tariffs have grown at about 15% CAGR. And when you look at the tariff levels in India today, our view is that they are broadly in line with the rest of the global emerging market average. And the way we measure that is we look at telecom revenues as a percentage of GDP. And there's a few other matrices that we look at as well. So from here on, our view is that the rate of tariff increases will be a lot more measured. They will happen, but they will be a lot more measured. And then on top of that, and I think this is related to the second part of your question on AGR. So now that we know that with the Supreme Court decision being what it is, there will be some kind of a resolution on the AGR debate. Obviously, there's a lot of questions still there, what the magnitude of the relief is, what the duration of any postponement of payment is, and once that happens, what kind of capital raise Vodafone Idea is able to do, which will then have a significant impact on how much they're able to invest and all. But the point being is that there will be a viable third private player in the market. And when we take into account all of those, our view on the sector is broadly neutral.
So what's the extent of tariff increases that you expect for the industry? You said it will be measured. What should we expect? And how are the valuations looking, if you could share? Because now for, say, someone like you who has a choice of investing in the Indian telecom companies, and the choice here is very limited, versus others in Singapore, Malaysia, and the other emerging markets, how would you say the valuations here are in India?
Sure. So on the tariff side, look, let me break it into two parts, right? The ARPU increases are driven by two factors. One is outright price increases. And then the second one is kind of natural organic upgrades. People migrating from 2G to 4G, 5G, prepaid to postpaid, and so on and so forth. Our view is that at a very broad level, the ARPU increase from here on should be around high single digits on a CAGR basis over the next 3 years. And the mix of that will probably be one big tariff increase sometime next year of around 10 to 12%. And then from there on, a lot more measured price increases in future. But the process of upgrades, as I talked about previously, will continue. A point I would also like to make here is that when we look at the Indian mobile pricing structure, it's actually a very flat pricing structure. This is something that even the operators have talked about. And so the result of this is that the gap between your most expensive plan versus your cheapest plan is actually very low compared to most of the other emerging markets. That allows you then to use the complete income distribution curve to get the richer customers to pay more and so on. That's an adjustment that I think the Indian mobile sector needs to do. And our view is that once we have that next big tariff increase that we expect sometime over the course of the next year, from there on, I think the operators will be a lot more focused on widening the tariff structure, which will then drive the next leg of ARPU growth that I talked about.
Okay.
You did have a second question on valuations.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So on valuations, look, EV to EBITDA is the most common metric that people look at for telecom sectors. Globally, the range for this number is between 5 to 8, and that typically depends on whether you are a number one telecom operator or number two, what the ROIC levels are, where you are in the capex cycle, and how much of your cash flows are being distributed in the form of dividends, right? And so as each of these matrices moves in the right direction, the multiples tend to expand towards that 8 to 9 times range. There are a few very select names that are more than kind of 9, 10 times. In that context, if you look at the Indian telcos, they are trading between 12 to 13 times. Now, granted that there is faster growth and everything that we talked about, but yeah, the fact is that there is a premium that you pay for Indian telecoms.
Okay, all right, Navin, a lot to ask you, but we are completely out of time. You track other spaces as well, be it the quick commerce space and the likes. We'll discuss that in greater detail, but thank you so much for joining in with your insights on the telecom space. That continues to be the big focus point considering the recent judgments that we have gotten from the Supreme Court. But the big story